I'm afraid to speak. I am literally afraid to say anything because every single time I try to say something, everything goes completely wrong. I'm about to tell you a story of a very, very bad week. But every time I try to tell the story, something else happens that only continues to add to what has already been a very, very bad week. So I'm going to ask you to sit down, sit back, get something to drink, and listen to this story that at times you may find it hard to believe. But everything I'm going to say is true. Yes, I may throw in a little hyperbole here or there for entertainment purposes, but I hope you find this to be an interesting story. Are you ready? So let's start with a proper introduction. Okay. I'm feeling brave. All right. You ready? Welcome everyone. It is Friday, January the 31st, 2020. It is currently 7:37 p.m. Central Time. And if you listen closely, you can hear it. Do you hear that? That is the sound of silence. Yes, about 15 minutes ago, everyone walked out my front door. Everyone left the house. And I was like, I have the ability to record. I have the ability to, forget recording, hit the go live button. And I can tell everyone the story I have been trying to tell since Thursday. But every time I try to tell the story, something went wrong. And then guess what happened? Everyone walked out of the house. I ran over here, hit the go live button, and then boom, I'm getting all these text messages from my daughter in New York City saying, where's mom? I need mom. Oh, you've got to get in touch with mom. I need mom. And I'm like, oh, I'm live on the air. So I had to stop the live broadcast. I took care of that situation. Then I hit the go live button and someone comes to my door. Then I have to stop the live broadcast. So even after everyone left, things are still continuing to happen to try to cause problems. So I'm starting to think that maybe someone out there who doesn't like me, and probably it's a YouTube listener, because this week I've been called that I'm a complete idiot, according to someone on YouTube. That's interesting. I don't even know them. They don't know me, but I'm a complete idiot. So I've been called names. I have had accusations made against me by people listening to me on YouTube that I was deleting their comments, even though I wasn't even looking at YouTube this week because of, everything happening this week. So I'm assuming that someone got mad at me on YouTube and placed a curse upon me this week because, wow, it has been crazy. It really has been crazy. So right now, the house is empty. I have my dog behind me, and we're going to spend some time telling a story. The story of a very bad, terrible, no good week. All right? It's been terrible. It's been bad. It's not been good. And I'm hoping that the bad has ended and starting tomorrow, Saturday. In fact, I hope by the end of this broadcast, everything has gotten much better. I do appreciate those who have emailed me to ask me if everything is okay, what's going on. I greatly appreciate that. But yes, we have a lot to catch up on. All right. Now, I've envisioned doing this, telling this story a number of different ways. In fact, see, right now I'm already frustrated because I'm not really starting this the way I wanted to, but I was afraid to speak. Once I hit that go live button, I was like, oh no, I can't stop now. I'm live on the air. What do I do? So, all I knew to do is to whisper. All right. So I had a whole different, introduction planned, but here we are. Are you ready? Okay, let's begin this story. Last Friday, I believe that would have been January the 24th. January the 24th, 2020, I got in my car with my wife and we took off towards Houston, Texas. Now, why were we traveling to Houston, Texas? Well, Houston, Texas this year was the site, was the place that the 2020 WWE pay-per-view, the Royal Rumble, was going to take place. It was going to take place in Houston, Texas, at Minute Maid Park. That's where the Houston Astros play. There was going to be 44,000 people there. And we were headed to Houston, Texas, so that I could attend the Royal Rumble on Sunday evening. And on Saturday evening, we could attend the Worlds Collide NXT WWE pay-per-view. And it was a weekend of wrestling. That's why we were headed to Houston, Texas. It was a Christmas present that my wife purchased for me. I was super excited. I love professional wrestling. She was going with me. It was going to be fun. We were going to get away from everything. It was going to be a great time, and I was excited. And when we got in the car on Friday, we had the whole weekend in front of us. We had anticipation. We had excitement. We had plenty of things to talk about. It was great. Everything was wonderful. And the trip there Friday, and for those who don't know, I live in Abilene, Texas, so it's about a 6-hour drive. The drive there was unremarkable. That's the best way to describe it. Very little traffic. We got into Houston. We got into no traffic at all. So everything was going great. The good thing on the way there is we got to stop at a Buc-ee's. Now, if you don't know what a Buc-ee's is, you need to come to Texas and travel around Texas. Buc-ee's, how can I describe Buc-ee's? Think of a convenience store, think of a place you would stop when you're traveling. One of those on the highway, a major highway, and you're going to exit off to get some gasoline, maybe some snacks, and go to the bathroom. Well, the reason Buc-ee's is such a big deal here in Texas is, first, it's gigantic. Think of a Walmart, roadside convenience store. It's gigantic. It's got everything you could ever want. It's got everything you could ever need. And here's what makes them famous. They have the cleanest bathrooms on planet Earth. They have been voted a number of times having the cleanest bathrooms, and they are. If I'm traveling and I know there's a Buc-ee's coming up, 500 miles ahead, there's a Buc-ee's, I'm just not going to the bathroom until I get to Buc-ee's, because you feel like, when you go to a Buc-ee's and go to the bathroom and come out, you don't feel like you just, caught 14 diseases, right? You feel safe, right? You go in, you feel like, okay, yes, a nice, clean bathroom. So that's what they're famous for. And again, they have everything there. So on the way to Houston, we knew we would run into a Buc-ee's right before we got to Houston. So we got to stop there. Always love that. That's great. And then we get into Houston, and really, again, we avoid all the traffic. It was remarkable. The only first hint of a problem was the GPS did not take us to our hotel. It took us to, some weird location that was a dead end, and there was no hotel there. But we were easily able to get us to the right location, because we knew that the hotel is basically in the parking lot of the Toyota Center, where the first pay-per-view we were going to be attending was at. So we just put in Toyota Center. There, we got to the hotel, no problem. Got to the room, everything perfect. Friday night goes by, didn't sleep much. Watched some wrestling on TV, talked about wrestling, was getting all excited. Woke up Saturday, got some food, and then Saturday afternoon, early Saturday evening, we walked out of the hotel. Literally walked out of the hotel right into the Toyota Center. It's literally like in the parking lot of the Toyota Center. Walked in for Worlds Collide, the NXT pay-per-view. Great pay-per-view. I could talk about the storylines. I could talk about the characters. Definitely not a good thing. In the main event, one of the wrestlers got knocked absolutely, completely unconscious. It was a real injury. And if you don't know anything about professional wrestling, if the referee throws up an X with his hands, that means the injury is legit. It's not a part of the story. And he had to be escorted out. We hope that he is okay. But the rest of the wrestlers in that match were able to kind of reset and retell the story in a different way. And it worked out really well. Great time, wonderful Pay-per-view ends, walk right back over to the hotel. I think we ordered some food. Everything's wonderful. Don't sleep much Saturday. Wake up Sunday, and it's Sunday. It's Royal Rumble Day. Now, Royal Rumble's happening in Minute Maid Park, which is where the Houston Astros play. And here's the great thing. Where our hotel is, we're 9 minutes away from Minute Maid Park. Guess what? I don't have to get an Uber. I don't have to get a cab. I can literally walk to Minute Maid Park. Now, my wife went with me to the first pay-per-view, but she was not going to the Royal Rumble because seats were expensive. So we could only afford one ticket. So that was great. It worked out fine. She was going to sit back in the hotel, relax. And I was going to walk over to the Royal Rumble, have a great time, come back. And then, Monday morning we would leave, and we had the whole thing planned out. Everything was great. So, Sunday, we had one small issue Sunday when we went to get food. I won't tell you that whole story, but let's just say we never ultimately got the food the way it was supposed to be. And so we ultimately left. We did get a refund. That went really bad. But we came back, reset, did find some food, got some food. And then I walked over to, I walked towards the Minute Maid Park about 3 p.m. Central Time. Probably around that time is when I headed over to Minute Maid Park. And it was nice out, 74, 75. It was funny because whenever the WWE has these big pay-per-views, if you've never been to one, there's people from all over the world that come in. All over the world. And there were people walking around from all kinds of different countries, and they were walking around, and here they are. They're in Houston, Texas. It's January. They've somehow perceived it was going to be cold, and they were like, it's hot. What happened to winter? And so, but it was warm waiting, but we got in, and an absolute fun experience at the Royal Rumble. The main men's Rumble match was a great story, the way they told it. It was basically 2 stories told, and they used the first story to really set up the second story. And they were playing with people's emotions. The first story was designed to make everyone mad, to get everyone nervous that it was not going to go the way they wanted to. Everyone was upset. People were yelling. And then when the big change happened to turn to the second story, man, 45,000 people just exploding in a cheer. It was so loud. It was so crazy. There was a major surprise return of a wrestler who we didn't think could ever wrestle again. He came back. That went crazy. Then they messed with us at the end, making us think that one wrestler that a lot of people hate was going to win. It was lots of twists and turns to tell the story. It was fun. It was exciting. It was a great experience. 45,000 people, the yelling, the screaming, the cheering, and my voice was gone. All the people I was sitting with from different parts of the world, they were fun. It was just a great time. The pay-per-view ends, and I'm like, wow, this has been a great weekend. All right. The Saturday night pay-per-view was great. Sunday night, I had lots of fun. Everything went as well as it could have gone. And so then I finally make my way out of Minute Maid Park. All those people took a long time. And then I start my walk back to the hotel. All right. There's people everywhere. Everyone's talking about the pay-per-view. Everyone's talking about this and that and this. And where's this story going to go? And what are they going to do with this? And just great wrestling talk. If you've ever been around wrestling fans, talking about storylines, character development, all kinds of wonderful stuff. Okay. Walking. Okay. Boom. I get into the hotel. The people at the desk, hey, did you have a great time? Yes. And there's wrestling fans in the lobby and they're all talking. Everyone's having a great time. I get in the elevator, go up to the 3rd floor, go over to room 321, put in my room key, door opens, I walk in, and my wife is not there. Where is my wife? I'm thinking, well, maybe she was down in the lobby. She's not in the lobby. Where is my wife? Cannot find her. So I start texting. Guess where my wife is? My wife is in the emergency room. Now, no one let me know during the pay-per-view. She gave specific instructions to the children not to let me know where she was. They were told not to text me, not to let me know in any way, shape, or form what was going on. But she was in bad shape. It was hardcore flu-like symptoms, coughing, chills, fever. I mean, you name it. I mean, she was in bad shape. So she is there in the emergency room, and I'm sitting there going, oh man, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're supposed to leave tomorrow. How are we going to work this? Well, about that same time, my oldest daughter, who's here back here in Texas, Abilene, Texas, she's here at my house with her kids, and she's texting me saying, Dad, I feel sick. I feel horrible. I feel like I need to go to the emergency room, but everyone's gone. And I'm like, well, we're supposed to be there, early tomorrow. We'll get back as soon as we can. It's a 6-hour drive, hold out. So there's nothing, I can't get back to her. My other daughter lives in Boston. So she's here. So my wife's there in the emergency room. My daughter here feels like she has the flu. She feels like she needs to go to the ER. And I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? So I start trying to make a plan. How do we get back? We've got to get back as soon as possible. Well, my wife finally makes it back to the ER, from the ER at 1 a.m. or almost 1 a.m. And she's like, what do we do? Well, she's coughing. I mean, she's coughing like crazy. So if we stay there, there's no way I'm going to be able to sleep. We're not going to be able to sleep in. She's coughing. She feels horrible. She feels sick. So we're going to have to be out of the room by noon. So what do we do here? What do we do? It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Do we try to get a couple of hours rest? I haven't really slept for 2 days. What do we do? So I had to make a decision. So I made the decision. Look, I typically don't fall asleep. Under any circumstances until I allow myself to finally fall asleep. And even then I have a hard time. I don't like sleep. I hate sleep. So I'm thinking, okay, I've basically been up for all of these days, haven't had much sleep. We've got a 6-hour plus drive back to Abilene. My oldest daughter is there. She's sick. The grandkids possibly have the flu as well. So Stacy is not in my wife. She's not in good shape. I'm like, what? This is a mess. Everything's falling apart. What do we do? So I had to make a decision. So I said, let's just get in the car now. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Let's just go. We can beat all the traffic. We can get out of here and we can get the car full of gas and just go. Right? I know I'm not going to fall asleep. I know I can do this. Right? So we get in the car to go. Now, great news. No traffic on the roads in Houston at 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, there's some, but very little. So, okay, great. So we miss that out. All right. Obviously, we weren't going to be able to sleep anyway with her coughing and everything. It wasn't going to work. So I'm sitting there, I keep telling myself, we're making the right decision. We're making the right decision. Well, we get a little ways out of Houston, and then all of a sudden, almost as if a dark cloud just comes down upon us, this fog that is so thick just immerses the road and you cannot see anything. If you turn your lights on bright, boom, you don't see anything. So you have to keep them on dim. You're trying to see anything. And so we're trying to make it through the fog. Okay. We almost hit some deer. The drive is taking forever. It literally is taking forever because, it's just, I mean, you can't do the speed limit. You cannot do the speed limit. Now, here's the thing. We're trying to get home because, well, we haven't slept. I don't think I'm going to fall asleep, but it's always dangerous when you haven't been asleep for a couple of days and you're driving in the middle of night in a thick fog because you know how sleep can hit you when you're driving and there's really no warning. And all it takes is one dozing off across the lane one way or the other. And then, a tragedy occurs. So the good thing is I never even got the hint of falling asleep. So that was good. But dealing with the fog was a nightmare. It's like, I need to go faster, can't go faster. And it's just 1 hour turned into another hour, turned into another. And I didn't think we were ever going to get home. Now, one of the things we did, now my wife, she was so sick, but she did stay awake to try to at least help navigate the situation. But one of the things we used to get there, to get from Houston back to Abilene in this thick fog in the middle of the night without any sleep, is we used classic radio dramas. We pulled up Sirius XM. We pulled up the Sirius XM app, and we were able to get signal. And we turned on, they have a channel called Radio Classics. Highly recommend the channel if you love classic radio drama. And it was one radio drama, that's all it is, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, radio dramas. And we were listening to this and listening to that, and they were always interesting. They had a comedy block, they had a suspense block. It was, you name all the classic radio dramas, and we got to hear plenty of them, and they kept us entertained, kept us, intrigued, trying to figure out who did it, and it was the perfect device to keep your mind preoccupied, so that we didn't, and in some ways the fog actually, like, it was very frustrating because it slowed us down, but maybe because I had to keep it kept, the way it was working is there's humidity, and then we ran into this cold, and so the windows kept fogging up, so we'd have to turn on the defrost, and then this, and then that, and I had to slow down, go fast, and it was all this back and forth that I never could just fall into a rut to even fall asleep. So in some ways, the fog served as a blessing, even though it seemed at the beginning to be a curse. There was something good in it because it kept you preoccupied. You couldn't just, get comfortable in your seat, and then the next thing you know, you start dozing off. It was too many. Okay, turn on the defrost, turn off the defrost, all right? Okay, let's turn up the heat. Oh no, I don't want to get too warm in the car. Well, as soon as we turn it down, okay, now the windows are fogging up. Man, this fog is so thick, slow down. Okay, now I can speed back up. Oh, wait, what's that in the road? And it was like, go, slow, fast, do this, do that, while listening to radio dramas. So it ultimately all worked out, and finally, Monday, we pull into Abilene, Texas, Monday morning. My wife is horribly sick. My daughter, horribly sick. The grandkids, horribly sick. Everyone's got the flu, basically. Everyone's got the flu. My wife, I think, wasn't actually diagnosed with the flu, but she has every flu-like symptom you could imagine. Chills, fever, you name it. Everyone in the house had a fever, and I'm sitting here thinking, this is crazy. I haven't slept. We had to take, we had a rental car, so we had to take the rental car back. We got all of that done, and I can't remember what time Monday. It was somewhere Monday morning, Monday afternoon. It hit me. And when it hit me hard. Full-blown flu. Fever, 102, I think 102, 103. Oh, chills, fatigue, so tired. Thought I was going to literally die. It was horrific. And I'm like, this cannot be happening. Okay. It's Monday. I'm supposed to come back and be able to start recording. I got to get ready for church on Wednesday. And everything just started deteriorating, falling apart. I got worse. Everyone around the house got worse. So Wednesday, had to cancel church. Yes, had to cancel church on Wednesday. Why? Because, even though I felt like I could push through, I can go, I can preach, I can make it happen. Well, I probably would have passed out, but I kept saying I could do it. The only problem is I would have been obviously contagious to everyone there. So that would have been a bad idea. So we had to cancel. So it's been a week of sickness, of fevers, of man. Now tonight, my wife is still not feeling great. My oldest daughter, she's feeling much better. The grandkids are doing pretty good, still wiped out a little bit. They were able to go back to school today. And I'm feeling pretty good. So on Thursday, I'm like, okay, finally, I'm getting there. Now my voice is still not completely back and I got a cough, and even trying to talk right now is painful, which makes me trying to tell this story. I can't really tell it in an entertaining way. I would probably be more entertaining if my voice wasn't hurting so bad. But on Thursday, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the church, hit record, and at least tell everyone what's going on. At least tell everyone this crazy story. But we ran into technical problems. We ran into all kinds of technical problems. For some weird reason, whenever I was hitting record, not every single time, but it would be like I would be trying to record, try, and then go back and listen. And there would be maybe 1 out of every 5, 1 out of every 10. It was hard. There was no rhyme or reason. Every time it would be all of this static. And we've been having this problem for a while, and we thought we had figured it out. And after trying everything, we came to the conclusion it had to be something with the laptop. And that problem happened Thursday, and it's been a problem all day today. We think we have it resolved. Who knows? Right now, this live broadcast, the whole thing could be messed up, which would be greatly disappointing if that is the case. But that added to the problem. And in the midst of all of that, they were supposed to be replacing part of our fence. So we had people here working on the fence. Everyone here is sick. Dogs going crazy. Just a mess of a week. But it was so frustrating because while I could not record, there was no way to record. I wasn't even physically able to record. And then when I was physically able to record, I could not record because we had the technical problems. And so then I started worrying about the technical problems. And while that is happening, then you have people on YouTube who for some reason start making accusations that I'm deleting their comments. And I'm like, I'm not even on YouTube. I'm not even looking at your comments. Why are people making these accusations? And then I got someone calling me an idiot. And you're like, okay, I don't even have the ability to respond to these individuals. So it was it's been a very, very frustrating week. However, I've tried to learn a lot of lessons from this. All right. I've tried my best. I've tried my best to see. Here's lesson number 1. Okay. I don't even know if I want to number them. And I don't know if this is a good lesson or a bad lesson, but the good lesson, or I don't know if this is, I'm not going to put this in a good or bad category. I'm going to put this in a reality category. Historically, when I get sick, if I do get sick, because I usually don't get sick, and if I do, it hits me and it's over in 24 hours and I'm right back. And this particular case, it hit me and knocked me down longer than I have ever been knocked down. Now, it may have been the fact that it was connected to basically going so long without sleep. That may have been a contributing factor. I don't know. But man, I hate that feeling. Okay. And I don't know if I'm the only one, but I hate that feeling when a sickness hits you and you just get this feeling of you feel, and I don't know if this is going to make any sense. You literally feel your mortality. You feel like like the feeling just lets you know you're mortal, you're going to die. Not that you're going to die right then, but it just makes that feeling of the reality that your body's going to wear down, that you're getting older, that you're going to die. And I could feel that. And I hate that feeling so much because typically I get sick and I'm like, boom, this is going to be over 24 hours. I'm right back and nothing is going to slow me down. I do not like things to slow me down. I do not like being told to sit down and get some rest. I hate that. And so I hate that feeling, but it was a very real feeling that, man, when you get older and your body starts wearing down, there's nothing more humbling. In some ways, it's frightening to me because you just realize there's going to come a point in time. We don't know when it's going to be, but you're going to feel that that the strength of your body fade and that weakness begin to grab hold and pull you down until it's the last time. And that's going to be the end. And I don't ever want to experience that. I hate that feeling. I like the idea. I like being alive and using my life to try to accomplish things. I want to do things with my day, with my hours, with my minutes. I don't like to waste time, and being sick is a waste of time. And so that weakness, I just don't like it, but it's a humbling experience. And it's just a reminder. I guess this is a positive lesson that comes out of it. It's just a reminder that if we're clinging, whatever we're clinging to on this planet, it's going to be ripped from our hands. Okay. No matter what it is, it's going to be taken from us, no matter how strong we are. No, I mean, this on Sunday, when I was standing in line at the Royal Rumble, everybody was talking about it. The death of Kobe Bryant, this, basketball legend. He was 40 something years old, gone. Now he passed away in a helicopter crash, but it doesn't matter how wealthy you are. Doesn't matter how powerful you are. Doesn't matter how famous you are. Doesn't matter how much physical strength he had left. It was all taken from him. And that's how it's going to go. Whatever we have is going to be taken from us on this earth. That's why as Christians, we have a hope that is not set here on this earth. Our hope is eternal. Our hope is eternal life, an eternal God, an eternal kingdom, eternal salvation, forgiveness of sins. We hold on to something eternal, something spiritual, something greater, something that transcends the temporal, the physical, and the material, because the temporal, the physical, and the material, it's all going to end. And if that's all there is, it seems so empty and meaningless. So it really hit me this time. I hate that feeling of being that weak. And I felt, I don't know if I've ever been truly diagnosed with the flu before, but this one hit me harder than I have ever been hit. And it may be a reminder of my age, and which is a depressing thought. So that's probably one of the lessons. And while I was feeling all of this, we had the news of the coronavirus. I had to do a lot of time just laying down. And as I was laying down, my head was hurting so bad I couldn't even really watch a TV, but I would have, news alerts coming in and listening to news updates. And I kept hearing coronavirus, it's spreading here, going here. This many cases confirmed. A global emergency has been declared, and now we're stopping people from coming in from China, and all these restrictions, and basically there's grave concern for how bad this could get. Now you don't want to exaggerate it, but if sometimes this is what happens. The coronavirus right now is getting all of the attention, but we overlook how many people die each year from the flu. In fact, I think I have numbers right here in front of us, or in front of me. More than 150,000 Americans have been hospitalized, and more than 8,000 people have died from their infection of the flu this year. All right. And this is not even a particularly bad flu year. Last year, 34,000 people died from the flu. The flu sometimes gets ignored. We hear the coronavirus and everybody goes crazy. Right now, the coronavirus hasn't killed as many people as died from the common flu. But we just get, the flu is just common, no big deal, and we ignore it. But the flu is deadly. And it kills people every year. Thousands of people every year die from the flu. And so this year, it has wiped out this family. It has wiped us out. Unable to do anything. Like nobody was even able to move, much less get out of bed, much less even try to get food. It was bad. It was bad. So, yes. So, coronavirus, pay attention to it, but pay attention to the flu. I guess that'd be another lesson, is just Each year, we need to be more aware of the flu, taking precautions to avoid it. Obviously washing hands is always a major, major way of protecting yourself, being careful what you touch. If you do touch the surface, don't touch your face until after you've washed your hands. We could get into a lengthy discussion here about the flu vaccine. I don't want to get into a whole, if you mention vaccines, you're going to get 9,000 emails from people. Look, if you want to get into an argument about vaccines, you don't want to argue with me about this subject. Just move on. But I think it's perfectly, I think all vaccines, it's perfectly legitimate to at least question but look at tangible research, not conspiracy theories. But the flu vaccine, I don't know if you've ever had this happen. But if you get any flu-like symptoms or possibly have the flu or get the flu and you go to the doctor, you'll hear this a common thing doctors will say: the flu vaccine this year is not very effective. The flu vaccine this year is not very effective because typically this year's flu vaccine is based off last year's flu strain. So they build it off based off last year's flu strain, trying to make a prediction. And sometimes the vaccine is not effective for this year's flu strain. And so what do you do? I think they recommend definitely younger people and older people to get the vaccine because it can possibly lessen the effect of the flu. So I think we need to be more aware of the flu itself. Because man, it's been devastating for our family this year, and this has not even been a bad year for it. So, I'm glad. I don't ever want it again. I know that much. I don't ever want it again. So that now another thing happened that kind of changed my perspective on all of this. It was around 3:30 in the morning, and I'm listening to BBN radio because I feel like I'm going to die, and man, I don't know what to do with myself. So I'm listening to BBN radio, which only added to my frustration because I'm listening to devotional thoughts and I'm listening to sermons, and I'm like, I want to turn on the microphone. I want to talk about all of this stuff, but I could not do it. But at 3:30 in the morning on BBN radio, they do what's called the Family Altar program. And what it is they start the program with a challenge from God's word, and then they just go through prayer requests that they have received from people all over the world. They read the request, give it a little pause so that while you're listening, you can pray for that request. They go through request after request after request, and at the end, they say a general prayer for all the requests. But when you listen to the request, it's a little bit overwhelming. Here, you are hearing requests about families that are imploding and falling apart, marriages that are collapsing, kids that are turned away from the faith and are on drugs, and about children who've been abused, and people with all kinds of forms of cancer and terminal illnesses, and people with facing financial ruin. And you're listening to all of these prayer requests, and you're just like, wow. People's lives are there's so many things happening in people's lives that we sometimes forget that people around us are constantly in need of prayer, even if they never tell us. You never know what's going on in people's lives, but there is so much pain, so much suffering in the world. There's just so much brokenness. And it's just a reminder that we live in a broken, fallen world where sin is just, obviously the depravity of man is everywhere, and it destroys families. It destroys careers. It destroys lives. And when you hear all these prayer requests, I was just going, man, I'm sitting here. Yes, I am sick as a dog. I feel like I'm going to die. I hate this feeling. But there are people all over the world with all kinds of problems. So all I could do is just lay there. They would give a request. I would offer a quick prayer. They'd go to the next request. I would offer a quick prayer. And then at the end, I just gave a general prayer for everyone as well. And it's just a reminder that, man, whenever we can't do anything else, we can pray, and we need to constantly be in prayer. But it's just a reminder there is a broken world out there. A broken world. And we as Christians need to remember that we supposedly have a gospel. We should not be ashamed of the gospel because it is the power of God unto salvation. We believe that this gospel has power and we need to be willing to share it with people. I know we live in a world right now where people say, I don't want God and I don't need all that religion. But listen, them turning from God and turning away from the Bible, turning away from God, turning away from Christianity. Trust me, their lives aren't getting any better. Things aren't getting any easier. Their lives are still falling apart. They're still facing all the same issues that the world has always faced. So it's not like they've turned away from Christianity and found some magical formula, because it's not. People are hurting, people's lives, and we need to be out there sharing the gospel with whomever we can, whenever we can. And it was a reminder to look at my situation from a different perspective and to use my weakness. I was weak, but I could at least still cry out to God, that no matter how weak we are, we can cry out to God. I think there was a major thing in that. But so that, there's the trip, the crazy drive back through the fog, listening to radio dramas. I come back. I spent a lot of time listening to radio dramas when I came back because I couldn't do anything else. And I have a radio drama I'm going to share with you in just a second. I guess the most frustrating thing that we're facing right now is still, I don't know if we've resolved the technical issues with recording. It's really frustrating because if it's the laptop, I'm sitting here looking at it. I mean, we spent $800 on this laptop. And if it's the problem, I don't know what to do. I literally don't know what to do if it's the problem. I almost just took some money and went and bought a cheap, $200 laptop from Best Buy tonight, just to say, hey, I bet you a cheap one will work. It would make the expensive one almost obsolete, but we just need something to be able to record and do these live programs on. So just please pray that we work that situation out. From a small church, I mean, it's a major financial problem when something like that goes wrong. So it's been very discouraging. I've been working on that problem since yesterday. I went to the church on yesterday, basically did not sleep. Once again, here I am, not sleeping, and trying to fix this problem. So I'm going to get the problem resolved one way or the other, and we're going to come up with a solution, and we can get back to recording. But I at least wanted to tell everyone the story of this really crazy bad week. And every time I've tried to do a live broadcast today or record today, something has gone wrong. So right now I feel like there's a million things I want to say, but I will do this. In fact, while I was basically bedridden, and couldn't do anything, I kept listening to radio dramas, again, from Sirius XM, their channel, Radio Classics. I would highly recommend it. You can get the Sirius XM app for any mobile device. I think they have a plan for like $8. You get like 300 channels, music. But Radio Classics is the channel you want if you love radio drama. It's really good. And they played an episode of a program called Dark Venture. And that's the name of the show, Dark Venture. And the name of the episode was Turnabout. And if you listen to the episode, it really captures this principle. I'm going to read Psalm chapter 7, verses 14 through 16. Psalm chapter 7, verses 14 through 16. We read these words. Behold, the wicked brings forth iniquity. Yes, he conceives trouble and brings forth falsehood. I'll stop right here. All right, in Psalm chapter 7, starting at verse 14, it begins to describe the wicked. And it describes the wicked as this person who conceives trouble and brings forth falsehood. He made a pit and dug it out and has fallen into the ditch which he made. So you get this picture of this wicked person digging a ditch, like I guess to trap someone, for other people to fall into. And he ends up falling into the very ditch that he has dug for him, that he's fallen into it himself. In fact, Psalm chapter 7, verse 16 reads like this: his trouble, speaking of the wicked man, his trouble shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealings shall come down on his own crown. I'll read that again. Psalm chapter 7, verse 16. His trouble shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down on his own head. So it gives you this principle, at least a general principle, that the wicked, that the things that they do ultimately comes back onto them. Again, this is a general principle. We'd have to look at the context, but that concept showed up in this radio drama. You're going to hear the story of a man who comes up with a great plan. It's wicked. It's evil. And well, you get the idea. Somehow that plan is going to come back on this person. It's an interesting episode. Now, the audio I have here, this is from the 1930s, 1940s. It's not the greatest audio. So if you have a Bluetooth speaker, this would be a great time to turn up the volume. I hope this works out well. But before I hit play, I just want to say, the reason I took the time to tell everyone the story of this really bad week is just so that everyone knew what was going on. That's why I haven't recorded. That's why I haven't uploaded any sermons. Hey, YouTube got people. Look, you can sit there and call me idiots. You can call me names. You can make accusations. I haven't even been checking YouTube, okay, because I've been deathly ill. So, at the end of every episode, I always say you can contact me at newsif@yahoo.com. It doesn't take a lot to send me an email and go, hey, I've got an issue with you. And what's bizarre is the things that people are upset with me about. So many people got mad at me because I simply had the audacity to go, hey, Bible conferences that charge people hundreds of dollars to hear the word of God preached, I'm not for them. I'm against them. I don't think it's biblical. I think it's ungodly. The early church would have never done anything like that. And you cannot never imagine Jesus holding a conference to teach. I'm going to preach the Sermon on the Mount, but you're going to pay to get in. Or Peter or John or Paul or any of the apostles. It's just a crazy concept. And all I get is excuses. Well, we pay to do this. We pay to go to seminary. Okay, well, who said I was for the seminary system as well? I think there's problems there as well. Well, pastors get paid. Yeah, but no one gets charged to get into church. I never said conferences couldn't be held and hold a love offering. I didn't. So, because that would still let people who couldn't afford to get in and hear the word of God preached. So, and all of these pastors that preach at these conferences come from ministries with multi-million-dollar budgets. All right. They have the money to pay their famous pastor to go and preach at those conferences for free, making his going to preach there a part of the ministry of their church. They simply support his travel. They pay his travel, they pay his hotel expenses, and they pay his food. And so he doesn't need to make any money going to the conference because the church pays for everything and he's already making the salary at his church. But and no matter what I say, everyone's got 900 excuses instead of just going, wait a minute, you're probably right. From a purely from a historical Christian perspective and from a biblical perspective, we have no reason to support the idea of holding a conference where the word of God is going to be preached and charging people hundreds of dollars to get in. That's probably not a historically Christian practice. It's probably not a biblical practice. But no, it's excuses. And instead of even trying to address my arguments, they decide to call me names. You talk about when you're sick and you have people attacking you, that is a frustrating situation. So as Christians, when you're upset with someone, take a few minutes and find out what's going on and decide if it's the appropriate time to launch your attack, okay? And if you're going to launch your attack, how about not attack the person? Deal with the concept, deal with the issues. That would probably be a more godly use of your time. It probably would be. All right. I know that was not the smoothest, that was not the smoothest episode I've ever done. And I apologize. I wanted to make it far more entertaining. I really did. But You don't even know how many times I've tried to record just to give everyone an update today. And so this is the best I could do. I've done it. And so here we go. We're going to listen to this dark, I'm going to get the name of the program again. The name of the program, I got it here somewhere. Dark Venture, the name of the episode, Turnabout. And again, you're going to hear the audio. It's scratchy. It's old. But I think just listen to the story that's being told and how that principle from Psalm chapter 7 comes in. You know, they dig a ditch and fall into the same ditch. The violence they put forth comes down onto their own head. Just listen for that concept to be played out in dramatic fashion. That's one of the great things about storytelling, is to analyze stories and to get the meaning behind it and the concepts that are being illustrated. So listen to this. Hopefully you'll find it beneficial. You can email me at newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. Thank you for listening. Here we go.
Good evening, creeps. Welcome to the Mystery Playhouse. Creeps over the minds of mortal men come many shadows, shadows of greed and hate, jealousy and fear. Darkness is the absence of light. So in the sudden shadows which fog the minds of men and women are to be found the strange impulses which urge them into the unknown. Listen now to Turnabout, tonight's venture in the dark.
My motive for killing Marvin Rice was really quite commonplace. Fear, hatred, envy. Now, let's skip the motives. The part I find fascinating was the actual crime itself. It was so original. So amazingly clever, if you'll pardon me saying it. There wasn't a flaw in it anywhere. There wasn't the slightest chance in all the world that it would fail. And it didn't fail. Yet downstairs in the prison courtyard, they're testing a gallows built especially for me. As I said, my motive for killing Marvin was in no way unusual. He and I were partners in an exporting business. And for a long time, I had helped myself to considerably more than 50% of the profits. When Marvin found it out and added it up, it came to something like $50,000. But I think he was really more shocked at my reasons for taking the money than anything else.
You mean you spent all this money on another woman? But what about Ellen?
What about her?
Well, she's your wife.
Oh, don't try to figure it out. Marvin, it's quite complicated. You see, I'm not like you. I can't trot home to my suburban paradise every night to sit by the fireplace in my bedroom slippers and jabber about the petunias. You can. So that makes your Francis luckier than my Ellen.
But cheating on your wife, that's the worst part. That's the part I can't forget.
No speeches, Marvin, please. I'm not in the mood.
Oh, you're not in the mood, huh? In that case, I'm sorry I even brought the matter up. Or perhaps you are in the mood to tell me what you're going to do about this $50,000 shortage.
I don't know. I'll think of something.
I see. Well, what day is this, Richard?
May 20th. Why?
May 20th. I'm circling June 1st on my desk calendar. If you haven't replaced the money by then, I'll put you in jail.
Jail? You wouldn't do that, Marvin.
You want to bet?
No.
In the meantime, no one will know about the shortage. We'll continue working in the office as we always have. Until the 1st.
Partners to the end. Huh?
After stealing $50,000, what did you expect me to do, Dick? Offer you my congratulations?
As soon as I left Marvin's office, I telephoned the lady I'd spent the money on. She was very understanding. She assured me she'd hock all the things I'd bought her, and she told me to come to her apartment that same evening to pick up the money. When I got to the apartment, I found the only vacancy in the city of Los Angeles. She'd run out, all right. I telephoned Marvin right away.
So, she ran out on you, huh? That's too bad. But I've still got June 1st circled on my calendar.
But, Marv, listen to me. You got to give me a little more time.
June 1st.
But I can't.
I asked my lawyer just what the penalty in this state was for embezzlement. Do you know it runs as high as 10 years?
Well, what good would it do you to put me in jail? You still wouldn't have the money?
It's not entirely the money, Dick. As I told you before, I can't forgive a man who would steal money to cheat on his wife.
But, Marv...
June 1st.
During the next week, I found that lifting $50,000 is a lot easier than raising $50,000. There wasn't a chance in the world of getting that money. Oh, but I knew when it came to a showdown, Marvin wouldn't send me to prison.
You want it back?
10 years. He wouldn't lock me away for 10 years.
You want it back?
10 years. Everything gone. No, I couldn't let him do that to me.
You want it back?
I'd kill him first. I'd kill him. Yes, I'd have to kill Marvin. The thought drifted into my mind with the ease of an old friend. I'd have to kill Marvin. There was no other way. But how? Without bringing suspicion on myself. I went downstairs for a cup of coffee and found the answer tacked to a cash register in a little cafe. Waiter.
Yes, sir?
That's fine. If the coffee's weak and the steak is tough, blame Sally. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before.
That's just a gag the manager cooked up. Figured if the customers blamed Sally, they wouldn't pick on us.
But what about Sally? She must take a lot of punishment.
That's just it. You see, there isn't any Sally. More coffee, sir? I said, more. You said more coffee?
No more coffee. But thanks anyway. Yeah. Thank you very much. And so I found my plan of murder. If the customers blamed Sally, they wouldn't pick on us, and they couldn't pick on Sally if there wasn't any Sally. There was something else so fascinating about the idea. Marvin Rice, the ideal husband who despised me so for cheating on my wife, Marvin Rice, was going to be killed by another woman. Now, really. Wasn't that a perfectly wonderful idea? I went back to the office. It was after closing time, and Marvin was on the 6:15 Suburban Special headed for Palmdale, his wife Frances, and the Petunia. The office was empty except for Miss Brown, Marvin's secretary. She was working on some reports. Well, this was as good a time as any to begin. I went into my private office, but I didn't close the door. Without picking up the receiver, I started dialing our own number. I felt like a kid starting a snowball down a hill. Miss Brown didn't hear me dial. But she did hear the phone ring an instant later. I picked up the receiver. I moved my lips as though I were talking. I hung up. Miss Brown?
Yes, sir?
That call was for Mr. Rice. Better tell him about it tomorrow.
I'll leave a note on his desk. Who was it?
Somebody named Sally.
Sally?
Yeah, no last name, no middle initial, just Sally. Said she was a friend. I don't know. She sounded kind of mad. After Miss Brown left for the day, I called the Bartlett Hotel, and I reserved a room for the following night in the name of Mr. and Mrs. Marvin Rice, and I told the clerk to be sure to have a good bottle of wine in the room and 2 glasses. And I called the ticket agency and reserved 2 seats for the Ice Follies for Mr. and Mrs. Marvin Rice. Later, I went to a hock shop in Skid Row and persuaded the kindly clerk to sell me a $20 revolver for $100. I was just about all set. The next morning, I got a quick look at Marvin's appointment book and saw he was going to be out from 11 to 1. I went down to the cigar store, closed myself in a telephone booth, and dialed Western Union. Hello, Western Union. I want to send a telegram to Mrs. Marvin Rice, Palmdale, California. Here's a message. Won't be home tonight. Busy with Barnes and E.S. on new catalog. Call at noon and we'll explain. See you tomorrow, Marvin. No, make that love, Marvin.
Rice Brothers shop?
This is Marvin Rice calling.
Yes, monsieur?
I want you to send a nice orchid corsage to my wife. Send it to the Bartlett Hotel, room 612. Charges my account.
Yes, monsieur.
And enclose this note. To my Sally, without you, life has no meaning. Love, Marvin. I got back to the office a few minutes after 11. Marvin had already gone to his conference when his wife, Frances, called. I took the call.
Dick, I was so surprised when I got the wire this morning.
Wire?
Yes, from Marvin. Telling me you two would have to work all night on the new catalog. My heavens, I didn't think the catalog was coming out for another 6 months.
What isn't?
Then why work all night?
Oh, I'm working on some reports of my own tonight, but I... Oh.
Yes.
Well, Marvin didn't say anything to me about working.
But I have the wire right here in my hand.
Oh, well, as a matter of fact, Marv told me he was leaving early tonight. Look, as soon as he comes in, I'll have him call you. I'm sure he'll be able to explain everything. Marvin, your wife called while you were on.
Oh?
Yeah, Mother's taken ill.
Ill?
Oh, it's nothing serious. But Frances is going to spend the night with her.
Oh, well, I'd better call Frances up and find out what's wrong.
Well, you won't be able to reach her. She was just leaving the house for the train when she called. She said for you to stay in town tonight.
In town?
Mm-hmm.
Where does she think I'm going to get a place in town this late?
Well, if you like, I can get a room for you somewhere.
Okay, you'd better do it.
All right.
By the way, how's the money-raising situation? You know, June 1st is only 2 days away.
Oh, that, yeah. Well, you know, Marvin, I think I figured a way out of that mess.
Yeah? Well, for your sake and for Ellen's sake, I hope it works.
Thanks. So far, not wood. It's working fine. Around 4 o'clock, I went down to the corner telephone booth and called Marvin's wife again. I told her that he'd called in and said he'd be home for the rest of the day, or rather that he'd been gone on business. I hit that word, business, just right. After that, I found Marvin and told him I'd reserved him a room in the Bartlett, room 612. Then I asked Miss Brown to work overtime with me, and Marvin went over to the hotel. He called me the second he got into the room.
Hey, this place gives me the creeps.
Why?
You know what I found over here waiting for me?
No, what?
An orchid and a chilled bottle of wine.
My, what'll Francis say?
Well, it's not funny. So many things have happened today that don't make
Oh,
sense.
I'm sure there must be a logical explanation for everything. Look, I'll drop over and we'll have a drink of that wine. Maybe we can figure this thing out, huh?
Yeah, do that, will you, Dick?
I went out to the front office and told Miss Brown to wake me in an hour, that I was going to take a snooze. Then I locked my office, went out the window, down the fire escape into the alley. It was 8:10. I had to be back at the desk when she knocked at 9:10. I made one stop. I bought a 60-cent tube of lipstick. By the time I got to the Bartlett, it was 14 minutes to 9. The lobby was crowded. Nobody would remember me. It was exactly 10 minutes to 9 when I knocked on Marvin's door.
Oh, Dick, come in. Well, the things that have happened tonight, it certainly got me confused.
Has it, Marvin?
Yes, What are you doing with that lipstick?
Just decorating a few cigarette stubs in this glass.
Huh?
Sally has a good taste in lipstick, hasn't she?
Sally? Who? Sally? Dick, that gun. What are you...
On my way down the hall, some guy opened his door and asked me if I heard pistol shots. I turned my head and said, yeah, I thought I did. I got back to the office building at 3 minutes after 9. The gun was still in my pocket. I wasn't going to dump it any place where somebody would find it. I got into the basement of our building and ducked the gun behind one of the boilers. There was dust an inch thick on him. No one had been around there in 40 years. I got up to the office at 6 minutes after 9. I took off my coat. I slumped down on my chair. I felt fine. And 4 minutes later, Miss Brown remembered me. Yeah? What is it?
9:10, Mr. Barnes.
So soon, huh? Oh, gosh. Seems like I just closed my eyes. And that's all there was to it. They found Marvin a couple of hours later, and there was a big investigation. But they never found a trace of the person they were looking for, a girl known only as Sally. Created quite a sensation. The sanctimonious Mr. Marvin Rice, murdered in a love nest. Everyone was so shocked. My wife, Ellen, couldn't get over it, and we all pitied poor, dear Frances. Now, no one could understand it. But the guy who could understand it least of all was poor Inspector North, who'd been assigned to the case.
It's driving me nuts, Barnes. Dame doesn't just vanish in a puff of smoke, you know.
Still no trace of her.
Nothing. I traced back everything Rice did for the whole week up to the murder. Everywhere I turn, I see evidence of Sally, but not one person who ever saw her.
Mm-hmm. Well, what are you going to do?
What am I going to do? I don't care where I have to go or how long it takes. I'm going to keep looking for her. And I'll find her. You see if I don't.
did look for quite a while, too. And then he gave it up for fresher, less complicated murders. I became full owner of the company, and life was very good. That is until 3 months ago. That morning I came down to work, and Miss Brown, who was my secretary now, was waiting for me with a funny look on her face.
Mr. Barnes.
Yeah.
Someone called you last night after you left, and again this morning.
Yeah? Who?
Well, she said her name was Sally, Mr. Barnes,
Sally?
and that she had to see you sometime today.
Sally called? How could she? You're lying.
I'm not lying. Well, why should I lie?
Then how could it be Sally?
Don't you think you'd better go to the police, Mr. Barnes?
Police?
Well, wasn't Sally the name of the girl they think killed Mr. Rice?
Yes. But I... Yes.
Dick, this is Ellen.
What do you want?
My goodness, you needn't bite my head off. I just called about the telegram.
A what?
The telegram you sent. I got it about an hour ago.
I didn't send a telegram.
But of course you did. Telling me you wouldn't be home tonight. I'll read it to you. Won't be home tonight. Busy on new catalog.
When did you get that telegram?
I told you about an hour ago. But you must have sent it, dear. Your name is on
I
it.
don't care whose name is on it. I'll be home tonight. You understand? I grabbed a taxi and headed for the police department. I felt like a guy in the middle of a nightmare. What was going on? Well, that cop Norse was pretty smart. He'd find out who was behind this. And then it hit me right between the eyes. I couldn't go to the cops. Whoever was doing this knew that I'd killed Marvin. Hey, cabby. Never mind the police station. Take me back to my office.
Well, Mr. Barnes. Did you go to the police?
Huh? Yeah. They said they'll make a complete investigation.
She called again while you were gone.
Who?
Sally.
What does her voice sound like, Miss Brown?
Well, it's...
Does it sound like Ellen's or Mrs. Rice's?
No. Why should
All right,
they...
skip it. Any other calls?
Oh, a couple of business calls and... Oh, yes. The Acme Ticket Agency.
Acme Ticket Agency?
Yes, they were able to get you 2 tickets to the Ice Follies. They'll hold them for you until 8 o'clock.
Oh, that's very kind of them, especially since I didn't order the ticket.
Well, then who did?
I don't know. I'll get it. Yes.
This is the room clerk at the Barnes Hotel. I'd like to speak to Mr. Barnes.
Miss Barnes, what do you want?
We just wish to confirm your reservation for tonight, Mr. Barnes.
My reservation?
Yes, room 612 will be available as you requested.
612? But I didn't request anything.
I beg your pardon, sir.
Wait, yes. It slipped my mind. I'm sorry. Room 612 will be fine. I'll be there tonight. I had to go to the hotel and wait for Sally. Whoever Sally turned out to be. Because if I didn't, I'd never be safe again. But when my Sally came to the hotel tonight, she wouldn't find me shivering under the bed. She'd find me waiting with my gun. I went down to the boiler room of the office building and dug it out. 4 bullets left. Then I went out and had a couple of drinks. After that, I did a crazy thing. I went to the cemetery where Marvin was buried. He was still there, of course. And I felt like a jerk for even going. I got to the Bartlett Hotel lobby at 7:30 in the evening. The drinks were wearing off. I didn't feel any too good.
Here is your key to 612.
Thanks. Did Mrs. Barnes show up yet?
No, sir, she hasn't. But we sent the wine up just as you ordered.
Wine. Yeah, I kind of expected it would be there. When I got to the room, it really took plenty of courage not to just turn around and start running. But if I did that, I was through. Somebody knew what I'd done. Somebody knew the whole plan. Whoever it was coming here tonight. Probably to shake me down. I felt the gun in my pocket. There wouldn't be any shakedown. After the bellboy left, I looked around the room. I could feel my whole insides churning around like a washing machine. I saw some cigarette butts in the ashtray. There was lipstick on them.
Room clerk,
This is Mr. Barnes. Look, you told me no one had been up here in my room.
and there hasn't been anybody, sir.
Don't lie to me. Who was it?
I beg your pardon, sir.
There's cigarette stubs in the ashtrays. They didn't get there by themselves.
No one's been up to your room, sir. The maid must have overlooked the ashtrays. You know, it's so hard to get efficient help these.
I looked at my watch. It was 8:30. If everything went according to schedule, There'd be a knock on the door at 10 to 9, and then I'd know. I held the gun level, started for the door. But my legs weighed a ton. I'm coming, Sally. I'm coming.
Flowers, Mrs. Barnes, sir. The florist just delivered it, sir. Looks like an orchid.
It was an orchid, all right, and there was a card in it. And the card read, "To my Sally, without you, life has no meaning. Love." Only this time it was signed Richard. I felt myself going to pieces. It was almost 20 to 9. Twice I went to the phone to call Detective Norris, but I couldn't go through with it. It would be like sticking my head into a noose. I started drinking the wine. That helped me a little. I broke the gun open. Everything was all right. I looked at my watch again, 15 to 9. I got up and went to the door. I opened it quickly and looked down the hall. The hall was empty. I closed the door. I was trembling like a dried-up old man. It was almost time. I took out the gun and put it on the bed. It was 11 minutes to 9. 1 more minute, if Sally were to arrive on schedule. Picked up the gun. I held it with both hands. And I pointed it to the door. Okay. Okay. You asked for it. I don't know how long I just stood there, looking at the 4 bullet holes in the closed door. The empty gun was still in my hand. I walked to the door. Who would it be?
Okay, Barnes. Just hand over the gun.
Inspector Norris?
That's better.
Hey, wait.
Harry, take this down to the laboratory right away. Give you any odds you want. It's the gun that killed Marvin Rice.
Take your time. It's the gun. I killed him. That's the whole works, Inspector Norris, complete in every detail. Something for the reformers to worry about, isn't it? The menace of small signs nailed over cash registers. If it hadn't been for that, I'd never thought up Sally.
If it hadn't been for Sally, I'd never caught up with you.
What are you talking about? There isn't any Sally.
Yeah, I know, but it took me some time to realize that. Remember what I told you? Didn't care where I had to go or how long I had to look, I'd find her. Well, I looked so hard, I found you instead.
But how did you know about the telegram and the orchid and everything else?
It wasn't tough. I told you before, I checked back on everything that had happened to Rice for the whole week. When I realized there wasn't a Sally, I had to find another suspect. I chose you.
You turned my own plan against me.
That's right. It was a shot in the dark. When you didn't come to me for help after I started things going, I knew I hit the jackpot.
Oh, one last question, Professor. When did you find out there wasn't any Sally?
When I started tracing back in Marvin Rice's life.
Mm-hmm. That's where I slipped up, huh? Well, I should have known no one would believe a smug, sanctimonious bore like Marvin could ever have another woman.
Oh, but you're wrong there, Mr. Barnes.
Hmm?
I knew Sally was a fake because during the investigation we discovered the other woman. Her name wasn't Sally, and she had a perfect alibi.
I'll get you.
The other woman's name was Ellen. Your wife, Mr. Barnes.
A treat that brings down the curtain on Dark Venture featuring Elliot Lewis. Tonight's performance in the Mystery Playhouse.
Talk about digging a ditch and falling into it. Talking about making a plan of violence and it coming down on your own head. That story captured it perfectly. So with that, I will say this concludes the story of the bad week. You now know what is going on. And if there have been no technical problems with this live broadcast, maybe we fix that problem and then we can get back to normal maybe as soon as tomorrow, but we will see. All right, I'll stop right there. Everyone have a great evening. God bless.